In this video, we'll be looking at partial variation. And what is partial variation? Partial variation exists when a variable, which is a quantity, is partly constant and partly varies with another variable. So two variables have to be involved. I'm going to say that again. Partial variation exists when a variable is partly constant and partly varies with another variable. Now, in order to write a mathematical expression of partial variation, always remember the equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus c. I'm going to write it this way, y equals c plus mx. Now, if I say, for instance, a quantity or a variable x, which represents this, is partly constant, then partly varies at another variable, y. So in this expression, I can compare this with my equation of a line, In this case, there are two variables. There are two constants, rather. This represents a constant, and m also represents a constant. Now you need to know that. Now I'm going to use several examples to explain what partial variation is all about so that you get to understand. For instance, let's take a look at a tailor, the fashion designer, who wants to make a dress. Now there are two things that are required to get the total cost of making that dress. One of the things is the cost of the material. The other thing is the time spent in making the material. Now, how do I relate that expression? How do I bring the mathematical expression for partial variation for that? The cost of material is C, is partly constant. Let me use K1 to represent partly constant, plus partly varies with the time spent in making the material. So I'm going to use K2T. So where now in this expression, the cost means the cost of making a dress is partly constant. This partly constant represents the amount spent on the material, and this T means the time spent in making the dress. So that will give us the cost of making that dress. I can take another example, like for a carpenter. For instance, a carpenter wants to make a furniture, let's say a table. Now, there are two things that the carpenter needs in order to make the table. Number one, the carpenter needs the cost of the material and the time spent in making that table. That will give him the total cost of producing that table. So if I want to write an equation for that, this is the cost of making a table. The cost is partly constant. Let me say K1. The partly constant means the cost of the material, plus K2T, the time it takes in making the material. So the cost of the material plus the time it takes to make the material will give us the cost in making the table. Now I can take another example. For instance, let's say a roadside mechanic who wants to repair and who wants to do a servicing to your car. So there are two things that might be needed. Number one, the material, maybe in buying the oil and the oil filter. So let me say the cost of the material and the amount of time spent in servicing the car will give the cost of servicing the car, the total cost of servicing the car. So I think with this explanation, you understand what partial variation is all about. So we're going to take a question now, and the question will be displayed on the screen. The question is that the cost of car service is partly constant and partly varies with the time it takes to do the work. It costs 3,500 naira for 5.5 hours service and 2,900 naira for a 4-hour service. Find the formula connecting the cost in naira with the time t in hours. Then the B part, find the cost of a 7.5-hour service. We're going to write a mathematical expression for this. So the cost of car servicing is partly constant and partly varies with the time it takes to do the work. So the mathematical expression is the cost of car servicing is partly constant, k sub 1, plus partly varies with the time it takes to do the job, k sub 2t. So this is the expression for this partial variation. Now the question says that it costs 3,500 for a 5.5-hour service and 2,900 for a 4-hour service. Find the formula connecting the cost in naira with the time in the cost in naira and with the time in R. So I'm going to do that. So the cost 3,500 naira. The time it takes is 5.5, let's say 5.5 hours. Then the other cost is 2,900. The time is 4 hours. Now this will lead me, I'm going to substitute the value of cost and time into this expression. Then I'm going to get 3,500 equal k sub 1 plus k sub 2 into bracket 5.5, equation 1. Then I have 2,900. I'm going to plug all of this into this. So I have k sub 1 plus k sub 2 into bracket 4, equation 2. So I can express this as k sub 1 plus 5.5 k sub 2. K sub 2 equals 3,500 naira, equation 1. Then I'll do this other one, k sub 1 plus 4 k sub 2 equal 2,900, equation 2. Now I have two equations, simultaneous equations, because the A part of it is find the formula connecting the cost and time. In this general formula, this expression is showing a relationship between k sub 1, k sub 2, and cost. So we need to get the value of k sub 1 and k sub 2 so that we can express cost in terms of time. So I'm going to solve this simultaneously using a method called elimination. Now, what does elimination mean? Elimination means to get rid of something. So we want to get rid of one of the variables so that we can work with the other variables. So I have two variables here, k sub 1 and k sub 2. Now, in order to eliminate, you need to ensure that one of the variables must be identical in all sense. Now, in this equation, k sub 1 and k sub 1 in equation 1 and k sub 2 and k sub 1 in equation 2 are identical. So since they are both identical, then I'm going to subtract equation 2 from equation 1. Now, if I do that, k sub 1 minus k sub 1 will give me 0. Now, 5.5k sub 2 minus plus 4k sub 2 will give me 1.5k sub 2 equals 3,500 minus 2,900 will give you 600. So if I divide both sides by 1.5, so my k sub 2 will be 600 divided by 1.5 will give me 400. Now k sub 2 is 400. So I need to get the other constant. So I can substitute the value of k sub 2 into any of this equation. So I can use the second equation. So k sub 1 plus 4 bracket k sub 2 is 400. So I'm going to plug in 400 equals 2,900. So k sub 1 plus 4 times 400 will give me 1,600 equals 2,900. Case of 1 will be 2,900 minus 1,600, which would be case of 1 is 1,300. So case of 1 is 1,300, case of 2 is 400. So now the question says that I need to express I need to find a formula connecting the cost and the time. So I'm going to plug in case of 1 and case of 2 into this expression. So my value will be C equals case of 1 is 1,300 plus case of 2 is 400T. So this is the formula connecting C and T. So what it means is that this is C. C is expressed in terms of T. Now the B part, this is the A part of it. The B part of it says that we should find the cost of a 7.5 hour service, 7 hours, 30 minutes service. So what I need to do is that I want to find the cost. C equals 1,300 plus 400 into bracket. Now I'm going to do where T is 7.5 hours. So I'm going to do 7.5. So C is 1,300 plus what would that give me? 4,000 multiplied by 7.5. Okay, I'm going to get 3,000. So if I add this to that, so the cost will be 4,300 naira. So the B part of this, the cost of a 7.5 hour service will give me 4,300. So this is pretty simple. This is how to solve problem on partial variation. Thanks for watching my video. Always subscribe on OG's Wealth of Math. God bless you and bye.